Rabbi said we are starting a new halacha today. Rabotai, זה לא ממני רק מהשם. That's emes, Rabotai. Nothing is from us. Everything is from Hashem. Welcome to Dalad Amot Shel Halacha. Ein lo lakadosh baruch hu ba'olamo ela arba amot shel halacha bilvad. Rabotai, nothing brings it. Rabotai, nothing will bring you satisfaction as learning Torah. Okay. Rabotai, we are starting a new Siman. Not new Siman, new Halacha. Bezrat Hashem. We're actually getting there, Rabotai. There's there's 10 halachot in Siman Reis Tzadik Tet. We are already in halacha number 4. We are continuing today in Siman Reis Tzadik Tet in halacha Daled. This will be part 1 of the shiur. Before we do that halacha, just want to add something which I paid attention after I finished yesterday's class. I did mention yesterday that if a person began eating a bread meal of Sudah Shalishit after when the stars came out, which is in the forbidden time, when you're not allowed to eat, and I did mention over there that since the time cuts you off, that you're no longer allowed to continue eating, Havdalah is going to allow you to eat. And I compared it to the case of Kiddush in Siman Reish Ayin Aleph in Halacha Dalet. Just like by Kiddush, you have to go back and bless Hamotzi, so too by Havdalah, you have to go back and bless Hamotzi. But the problem is, Rabotai, I should have finished that whole halacha, because over there it says, V'yesh omrim, there are those that want to say you're not going to bless Hamotzi in the case of Kiddush. If you're not blessing Hamotzi in the case of Kiddush, how much more so you're not going to bless Hamotzi in the case of Havdalah. That means, halachically speaking, Rabotai, because I did say yesterday, you have to go ahead and say the blessing of Hamotzi in the case of Havdalah. But I'm retracting my ruling because of what I saw there. Even though it says, because the way I explained it was going according to the opinion of the Stam. But over here you also have yesh, and we know halacha is stam v'yesh. Halacha is like stam. But the problem is, since we're dealing with berachot, these are certain places where you will see that we do follow the yesh omrim, even though the stam holds just differently. It's only because of safek berachot like when it comes to blessings, and you have a doubt to bless or not to bless. We're going to be lenient. We're going to tell you not to bless. So therefore, halachically speaking, if a person began eating his bread meal before sunset Friday afternoon, or if he began eating his bread meal of Sudah Shalishit when the stars came out, when it's asur for you to eat at that time, in both of these cases, in the case of Kiddush, when you're going to go ahead and do Kiddush, or in the case of Havdalah, where you're going to go ahead and you're going to do Havdalah to allow you to go ahead back and eat your bread meal, we're going to tell you in both the case of Kiddush and in both the case of Havdalah, you do not say the blessing of Hamot Shelech Min Haaretz. The reason being is Safek Berachot Lehakel. Okay, Rabotai, that's all I want to bring down. Torah is nice, Torah. I love Torah. Okay, here we go. We are starting a new halacha in Halacha Dalet. Keshaya ochel vechashecha. When a person was eating and it became dark, she'amarnu she'en tzarich lafsik, we explained that you don't have to stop. Gomer sudato, you have to conclude your meal. Umivareh birkat hamazon al kos, ve'achar kach mavdil alav. You're going to bless birkat hamazon on a cup of wine, and then you're going to go ahead and do havdalah on it. Rabotai, wait, let me finish the halakha. Let's see a few points. Do not jump in this halakha right away. Ve'im yesh lo shnei kosot. What happens if a person has 2 cups of wine? Mevareh birkat hamazon al echad umavdil al echad. You're going to say birkat hamazon on one of the cup of wine, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to bless on the other cup of wine. All right, I'm going to call the cup of wine kos shel bracha. Right, really it's kos shel birkat mazon, but we call it kos shel bracha. Okay, Rabotai, what is the Shulchan Aruch saying? The Shulchan Aruch is saying like this. We know from Halacha Aleph we've been seeing this whole thing about once some says and so on and so forth. But we explained that if a person was eating in a permissible manner, now it became dark when the 3 stars came out. We said you don't have to stop. Beautiful. You're allowed to continue eating. So if I'm allowed to continue eating, what do I do when I finish the meal? Comes the Shulchan Aruch and he tells you, Gomer Sudato, finish your meal. Umivareh Birkat Mazon. And bless Birkat Mazon. And what? Al kos shel bracha. And the cup of wine and Birkat Mazon. That means when you're going to go ahead and do Birkat Mazon right now, you're going to take another cup with you and you're going to hold it. So in the end, you're going to say, Savri Maranan, right? In the end of Birkat Mazon, you're going to be able to say, Brei Brei Gefen Bracha. So comes, that is the Shulchan Aruch, Rabotai. We'll see what we hold. Don't rush, take it easy. I know. New halacha, new idea, Rabbi, what do you mean? The kos shel bracha, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So one more time, Rabotai. Kishaya ochel v'chashcha, when a person was eating in a permissible manner, and now it became dark, meaning when the 3 stars came out, sha'amaru shein tzarich lafsik. We saw clearly in Halacha Aleph, you don't have to stop. What are you going to do? Gomer sudato, finish your meal. Umivarech birkat hamazon ala kos, ve'achar kach mavdil alav. You're going to go ahead and you're going to bless birkat hamazon on a cup of wine, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to do havdalah on the same cup of wine. Ve'im yesh lo shnei kosot, but if you have 2 cups, yes, 2 cups. I don't have 2 cups. All right, 2 cups. It's not a cup. I don't know what you call these things. Yeah, my wife gives me this at about time. Yeah. I try to eat this to be able here. I'm not gonna eat now. Anyway, snack, it's healthier than anything else. Anyway, so but if you have 2 cups of wine, he says, if you have 2 cups of wine, you're gonna bless birkat mazon on 1 cup of wine. Umavdil al echad, and you can do havdalah on the other one. Beautiful halacha. How many of us do this halacha? How many of us know that we have to do havdalah on a kos shel? How many of us know that we have to do birkat mazon on a kos shel bracha? Okay. Rabotai, let's look into Sif Katan Yud Aleph. Sif Katan Yud Aleph says umerech v'chulu. So it's going back on the first opinion where it says over there that finish your meal and bless birkat mazon on a cup of wine, and afterwards you're going to do havdalah on that same cup of wine. So the Mishnah Berurah says in Sifkat and Yud Aleph, Hainu, which means to say, here we go, Leman de Amar, according to the one that says, Birkat Hamazon Ti'una Kos. This one, the Shulchan Aruch says that you're going to have to go ahead and do Birkat Hamazon on a cup of wine, and then you're going to come and do the havdalah on this cup of wine. That's only specifically according to the opinion that holds that he requires you to do Birkat Hamazon on a cup of wine. Now he tells me, Ve'ayin Siman Kuf Pei Bet Si'if Aleph. Should we touch upon it? Yeah, of course we're going to touch upon it. What do you think? I'm going to just let it slide. Rabotai, Kuf Pei Bet Si'if Aleph. Halachot of kos shel bracha. I'll tell you what the halacha is, because I just want to see, I don't want to, but I'll tell you what the halacha is, and then we'll see. Yesh omrim, there are those that say, Shebirkat Hamazon Ti'una Kos. Rabotai, Shulchan Aruch. There are those that say that Birkat Hamazon requires a cup. When I say Ti'una Kos, it means cup of wine and Birkat Hamazon, correct? Let's just say kos shel bracha. Yesh omrim Shebirkat Hamazon Ti'una Kos, afilu biyachid, v'tzarich lachzor alav. That means if I'm eating bread by myself, and now I want to bench, the Shulchan Aruch in the first opinion tells me, in the first Yesh Omrim tells me, that I have to do it on the kos of wine, on the kos shel bracha, even I'm by myself. Not only that, if I don't have wine, I have to go look for wine. I can't. Basically, we'll see, you can't start eating until you have a cup of wine. Did he die? Okay. V'lo yochal, don't eat. if you're not going to have a cup where you're going to bless on, if you're anticipating and it's possible that maybe your wife is coming from Costco or BJ's or she's on the way, or your father's going to bring you a bottle of wine, if you know it's coming to you and it's possible to come to you, don't eat. Don't eat until you get a cup of wine. Even if you have to let go of eating one bread meal because of the cup of wine. According to this halacha, comes the Shulchan Aruch and he says, if you have two people that are sitting and eating together, the bread meal, each one has to go ahead and take in a cup for themselves when they're going to both say Birkat Hamazon individually. Unbelievable. Another Yesh Omrim. That was the first Yesh Omrim. V'yesh Omrim she'ena tu'una kos eila b'shaloisha. The Yesh Omrim say, no, you're only required to have a cup on the Kos Shel Kiddush, on the Kos Shel Beracha for Birkat Hamazon. That's only if you have 3 people. V'yesh Omrim. Now the third Yesh Omrim. She'ena tu'una kos klal afilu b'shalosha. No, you don't need to have no cup at all, even with 3 people. Comes the Ramah, and the Ramah says, "Umikol makom mitzvah amuvchar levarech al hakos." He says, nevertheless, the best way to do the mitzvah is to bless on a cup of wine when you're doing Birkat Hamazon. Comes Rabbi Dahan in Amudei Hora'ah, and he says like this. V'ha'ikar b'da'at maran ha'shulchan aruch. The main halacha is going to be in the pin of the Shulchan Aruch in all these 3 Yesh Omrim. De'en birkat hamazon tu'una to'en kos klal. Birkat hamazon, you do not need to have a cup at all. Now, the only question is, with the Ramah, he says, nevertheless, that the best way is to do it with the best way to say Birkat Hamazon on a cup of wine. So the only question is going to be, what happens if you're 1 or 2 or even 3? So I'll put it to you like this, Rabotai. I'm not going to go into the whole Siman now, but when we get there, Rabotai, if you want, you can learn on your own now also. I don't know, if you have a rabbi there, teach you, let him teach you. But Rabotai, this is why it's very important to learn in depth, because you go back and forth here and there. Comes out of here, Rabotai, like this. Be'emet halachically, we do not have to have. And who did he bring it down? Alright. He says Kavachaim, Or Tzion, and Yalkut Yosef. Yosef, that's the pin of the Rif, and the Rambam, and we hold like that. We go, they're like they're 2 from the 3 Amudei Hora'ah. Doesn't matter, Botai. Bottom line over here is, halachically we hold, do you have to do Kos Shel Bracha? Do you have to do Birkat Hamazon on Kos Shel Bracha? Halachically, no. But is there a mitzvah, is the best possible way to do mitzvah? Is it on a Kos Shel Bracha? 100% yes. You want to be able, if you have 3 people or more, and the one that is benching, you want to make sure that he does the Birkat Hamazon on Kos Shel Bracha. Not halachically, it's only a good thing to do. But you have to understand, Rabotai, it's not so partial just to overlook that halacha. Just to overlook that good thing to do. Why? Because the Gemara said Berachot, that all the Berachot, and now remember, that's why it's called Kos Shel Bracha. Exactly, now it's called Kos Shel Bracha. Because Rabotai, when you say the Birkat Hamazon blessing, all the blessings go into that cup. When you drink it, you're blessed with all the blessing that there is because of this Kos Shel Bracha. That's I remember that actually. Moshe Berachot brings us down. So it is called the Kos Shel Bracha over here. In any event, that is going to be the halacha over there. Come back to us. So this halacha really in the Shulchan Aruch wouldn't apply to us. Why shouldn't it apply to us? Even the second case where we saw that you have 2 cups, you're going to go ahead and bless on the second, the first, you're going to bless Birkat Hamazon on the first cup, and then you're going to do Havdalah on the second cup. It's not going to apply to us. Why is it not going to apply to us? Only because halachically we don't hold that you have to go ahead and do Birkat Hamazon on Kos Shel Bracha. Okay. So let's get back into Siv Katan Yud Aleph one more time, where it says Umevarech Hainu, which means to say, when do we tell you that you have to go ahead and bless Birkat Hamazon and Kosher Baracha after your Su'udah? That's according to Laman Da'amar Birkat Hamazon to Unakos. That's according to the one that says that Birkat Hamazon requires Kosher Baracha. V'ayin Lekaman, V'ayin Siman, Kuf Pei Bet Siv Aleph, which is, you should say Le'el, okay, because it's above. Look into Siman 182, Halacha Aleph. Fine. Siv Katan Yud Bet, Al Hakos. Right, we said over there, again, halachically it doesn't apply to us, but we're still learning. You're going to bless Birkat Hamazon on the Kosher Baracha, and then you're going to bless on it Havdalah. So he says in Sivkat Yudbet, ala kos, ve'eno to'amo, you're not allowed to taste from that wine, ad acher Havdalah, until after you do the Havdalah, meaning until you say the last blessing of Havdalah, which is Baruch HaMavdil Be'kol Zuchol. Why? Kedei shelo yivgimenu, in order for you not to come to blemish the wine. And a lot of times you can actually have this. What does that mean, blemish the wine? Very simple. A person right now wants to do Kiddush, and he has a son or daughter, somebody running around, and say, Abba, can I try a little bit? Like, yeah, no, no. You know something? You feel bad for them. So you go, you let them try a little bit. They tried the cup of wine. What happened now, Rabotai? This cup could no longer be used for Kiddush. There's ways that you could fix it. By pouring the wine back, pouring the wine inside, whatever. There's ways that you can fix it. That's not the halacha. This is not the halacha. This is not the class for that. But I'm trying to tell you that if a person drinks from a cup of wine, you're no longer allowed to use that cup for Kiddush, for Havdalah, for anything else, unless you fix it. So that's what he tells you over here. In Sivkat and Yudbet, you shouldn't taste it until after Havdalah. Why? In order not to go ahead and blemish it. Now all this was by a case where you had one cup. Now we're moving to the second part of the halakha. What happens if you have two cups? We said mevarech birkat hamazon al echad, umavdil al echad. You're going to bless birkat hamazon on one of them, and you're going to do havdalah on the second one. Once again, it doesn't apply to us because we're not obligated to do havdalah on a cup of wine. So he says over here in Siv Katan Yud Gimel, ve'im yesh lo shnei kosot v'chul etc. Hatam, the reason, if you have two cups, the reason we're going to tell you, bless birkat hamazon on one of them and havdalah on another, de'en omrim shtei kiddushot al kos echad, because we're not going to say two kiddushot, meaning we're not going to be able to say the birkat hamazon and the havdalah on one cup alone. So you're going to ask yourself a question. What do you mean I can't say birkat hamazon and havdalah on one cup alone? What does that mean? Of course I could say it. We just saw it a second ago. He said, no, over there is different. In the beginning when we spoke about he only had one cup, over there the halach is different. That means to say that a person who has only one cup of wine, according to Shulchan Aruch, not according to halacha l'maaseh. We'll speak about halacha l'maaseh. Right now there's no halacha l'maaseh. Alright, because we don't do this. It's just, that's why I showed you in Kuf Pei Bet. Alright, it's only learning purposes now. In the beginning when we spoke about that you have to do birkat hamazon and havdalah, that means two kiddushot, because birkat hamazon is holy, havdalah is holy. So you're going to say two kiddush, because basically what the Mishnah say in Tzivkat and Yud Gimel, you can't say two kiddushot on one cup. Right? You can't say birkat hamazon and havdalah on one cup. But what do you mean I can't do it? I just did it. Just a second ago we saw you could do it. Says you're right, over there is when you had one cup. Meaning to say that if a person, let's say he follows the opinion that says that individual has to do birkat hamazon on a kosher beracha. Let's say he holds that let's say somebody else holds like that. Now what's going to end up happening? Now he has one cup of wine and now he wants to bench. So what are we going to tell him to do? We're going to tell him stop, bench on this cup of wine, but don't drink, and then say havdalah and then drink, right? Because we don't want it to become blemish. So that's why, Rabotai, when you have one cup of wine, then you could say two kiddushot because we don't really have an option for you. But if you have two cups of wine, then for sure you shouldn't say birkat hamazon and havdalah on one of them. You should split it up. Birkat hamazon on one cup and havdalah on another cup. Now, Okay, all right, let me just see something. Okay. Rabotai, I want to conclude over here because tomorrow I want to be able to do Sivkat and Yudala Bilineder and the Be'er Hatif. Yeah, they're going to go together, Bilineder Be'ezrat Hashem. So let's leave it for tomorrow. So this way I can try to keep it at a minimum of the time and we'll be okay. Yes, let me leave this for tomorrow Be'ezrat Hashem because it's a few lines here and then you also have a nice Biur Halacha. It's not very long, but it's very important Biur Halacha. In any event, let's conclude for today. Halacha l'ma'aseh. Halacha l'ma'aseh, Rabotai. We're going to have to go with Siman Kuf Pei Bet in Halacha Aleph. Halacha tells us that we are not obligated to go ahead and do Birkat HaMazon on Kos Shel Bracha. But we did see in the Ramah that the best way to do the Birkat HaMazon is on Kos Shel Bracha. So therefore, if you have a person that he's eating with 2 other people but him, meaning 3 people altogether, and he wants to go ahead bench and say the Birkat HaMazon on Kos Shel Bracha, the Shulchan Aruch is not going to tell you it's wrong. That you can go ahead and do. Are you obligated to do that? You're not obligated to do that. And over here, Rabotai, just for learning purposes, we saw in Siman Reis Tet in Halacha Dalet that if a person was eating and now it became dark, where we tell you you're allowed to continue eating and you don't have to stop, we're going to tell you finish your meal. And after you finish your meal, bless Birkat HaMazon. Since you only have 1 cup, bless that Birkat HaMazon on that Kos Shel Bracha. Don't drink it. Do a Havdalah, then drink it. But if you have 2 cups, we're going to tell you do Birkat HaMazon on one of them and Kos Shel and Havdalah on the other. Why over here is different than the previous case? Very simple. Because over there, all you had is 1 cup. But when you have 2 cups, you shouldn't say 2 kiddushot on 1 cup of wine. In any event, Rabotai, this will be for today, part 1, and Bilineder will follow in the following class. We'll try to finish this halakha of Halacha Dalet in the following class. Baruch Adonai Olam, Amen ve'amen.